Hello, this is Will Wow, and this is my 2040 board game. As you can see, this is the HBG, Historical Board Gaming Global 1936 map. For all those who don't know, this map was originally created to simulate World War II. However, I've used my own overlays, which I all made myself, to create a 2040 scenario of my own design. Within this new 2040s, the United States has dissolved. The Commonwealth has spread across the world, yet despite this, the UK has dissolved as well. Yugoslavia has reunited. Catalonia has gained independence from Spain, and various other minor border geopolitical changes. Here's the turn order. Yes, Ukraine still exists in this game in the 2040s. I've decided to postpone the Russian invasion of Ukraine until after the dissolution of the United States. As you can see, Russia and Ukraine will be the only two playable nations that'll start off at war. There are a total of 17 playable nations. Here's the turn order by Roundel. Yes, the Confederacy has been revived. Yes, I know that doesn't make sense, but hey, this is my scenario, and honestly, I just wanted a nation to fill the vacuum in the southeastern United States. Let's start with Canada. As you can see, they start off with a good amount of units. They're probably the most average of all the powers on the map. Average income, average amount of starting units, good distribution of forces. They're an alright power. They're allied with England and various other neutral nations, the Union Jack on their capitals. Their primary rivalries will be with the revived CSA in the southern U.S., southeastern U.S., and California on the west coast. We'll be over there in a bit. And then there's the CSA. They do not make a lot of money. They're somewhat poor, although they do start off with a strong military, so they're in a prime position to reconquer roughly a third of the U.S., and they are allied with Texas, this Midwestern nation, and what's left of the federal government in Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. And they also took control of Panama Canal. Next, we'll zoom all the way over the board to complete North America with an independent California. They have only a little bit more money than the Confederacy, although they start off with an even stronger military. Quite nice. They have Hawaii. There's some Canadian units. Although they are quite alone and have no allies, which is unfortunate for them. Although they will likely dominate the West Coast for most of the game. Finishes North America. Next, in South America, the only playable nation down here is Brazil, in the yellow. They start off with a good amount of money. Actually, right between that of the CSA and the Confederacy. Start off with a strong military. Although their greatest strength is they have no natural rivals nearby. The closest one they have that could be argued as a rival is the Confederacy, but they will likely be busy in North America for the majority of the game, leaving South America to dominate. Leaving Brazil to dominate South America and portions of West Africa. Now, skedaddling over to Europe, we have Spain. They're somewhat boxed in by the French, the Italians, and these neutral nations that are allied to Turkey, which we'll get to later, this Islamic League. However, they do start off with a good amount of money and a decent military. And as you can see, I had no plum-colored ships, so I'm using neutral pieces with the Spanish roundel underneath. Next, we have the French. I believe they are within the top 5 wealthiest nations starting with this game, and they start off, I think, with the 4th or 5th strongest military. It's quite good, quite strong, and along with Germany, they're the leader of what's left of the European Union, which covers quite a bit of ground. Next is England. The UK is dissolved, so it's just England. Although they still have quite a few allies across the globe, such as Canada. They have Norway, Portugal. They're allied with many neutral nations. And they're on friendly terms with the European Union, at least to the beginning of the game. They start off with a good amount of money and a strong military. A very strong navy spread across the globe. Next is Germany. I believe the 3rd richest nation starting in the game, so very strong economy. 4th strongest army, so just behind that of France. Can definitely defend themselves. Not a lot of territories to defend, and they're all wealthy territories. So they'll likely head up the European Union with France at their hip. Next is Italy. Good amount of money. Once again, strong military. Will likely be subservient to the French and handle European Union campaigns in the Mediterranean, along with the French. Next are the Polish. They start off somewhat destitute as far as their economy is concerned, especially compared to their Western allies. However, they do start off with a disproportionately large army, so good for them. Although Russia is looking a little scary, so they better get to moving pretty quick. Next, the Ukrainians. They start off the game with no allies and at war with the strongest power. They better be careful. Heart goes out to the current day Ukrainians. Of course, Russia. With the dissolution of the United States, they are the strongest power by a considerable margin, and they are feared by all. It'll be quite an obstacle to surmount for all the other playable nations. Next is Turkey. They are the only playable member of the Islamic League, so they're basically left to control all of it by themselves. Quite a big responsibility. Let's hope they don't fold under the pressure. And they have Russia luring to the north. Maybe they'll be friends with the Ukrainians, a joint enemy in the Black Sea. Unfortunately, there are no playable nations in Africa yet, although in a future version I may add in an East African Union as a potential 18th playable nation. I'll have to get the pieces for that, most likely from HBG. The Middle East, split between, I know this is the common form roundel, but I'm using it just to represent China and Russia's alliance. Here's the Islamic League with Caliph flag, and the European Union is spread into the Middle East. Go figure. We have India, strong economy, very strong military. Will likely be safe from China for the majority of the game and can run amok throughout the Middle East and Africa. So they'll likely have a good game as long as they don't gain the ire of the Chinese player too much in Southeast Asia. Speaking of China, next is China. They start off as definitively as the second strongest nation. A piece fell over there. Airborne. Second strongest nation. And there's another one that fell over. Although they definitely may end up playing second fiddle to Russia if they stay allied with them, so they might be incentivized to attack Russia sometime in the mid-game, although they are somewhat boxed in everywhere else, surrounded by hostile nations on half their borders, land and sea. Definitely a tough nation to beat, though. Next is Japan. Strong military, strong navy. Oh, strong army, strong navy, excuse me. Somewhat isolated. China is a rival. Russia, potential rival, although if there's a falling out between the Russians and the Chinese, I suspect the Japanese might start to get along with the Russians a bit more, and the Russians might use the Japanese to box in the Chinese. Very complicated web of alliances in East Asia. And finally, the Australians, or Anzac. They don't have much to do in the game, but they will nonetheless play an important role in Southeast Asia and will likely go to war with China at some point. Or Japan if they're particularly aggressive. That concludes this look at my global 2040 game. If you have any advice, please comment down below. Well,